We finally know North Carolina's first NCAA tournament opponent, and here's the thing. They've only got 7 players.
You are Locked On Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, it's Wednesday, March 20th, 2024. It is March Madness Eve. Yes, just one day until it all kicks off. I'll be wearing my Santa hat tomorrow because it'll be Christmas. Welcome into the Locked On Tar Heels podcast, the only daily North Carolina show out there. I'm your host, Isaac Shade, and you're joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. Thanks for making us your first listen or watch, and a special shout out to all you everydayers out there. Hey, wanted to let you know, speaking of March Madness kicking off tomorrow, we have a Locked On Tar Heels March Madness bracket pool. The link for that's in the show notes. It's on ESPN. You can also find that if you're come be part of our Discord community, which is free to join. The link for that's in the show notes as well. You can join it from there. So would love to have you as part of that. I think it's up to like 90 or something like that by now. So great stuff. Okay. A couple things as we get into the show. First, I need to let you know that I unfortunately gave you an incorrect answer to yesterday's Tuesday trivia question. It had been sent in by someone and I just didn't double check the research on it, and I apologize. I should have. I know that as a stats person. I always double check. So the question was, how often has Carolina won ACC Player of the Year and ACC Coach of the Year? And we the answer we gave was one, Antoine Jamison and Bill Guthridge in 97-98. But the truth is, it's happened 5 times. Let me give you the other 4. 1975-76 season, Mitch Kupchak and Dean Smith. 67-68, Larry Miller and Dean Smith, which was actually a repeat from the year before when Larry Miller and Dean Smith did it in 66-67. And the one other time was 1956-57, a decade earlier, when it was the late, great Lenny Rosenbluth and Coach Frank McGuire. Great stuff there. A couple awards for RJ Davis and Hubert Davis, I guess, also received an award on Tuesday. The NABC All-District teams were announced. RJ was on the first team, Armando Bacot on the second team, and Hubert Davis won Coach of the Year. The AP announced their All-Americans on Tuesday as well. RJ is part of that first team along with Zach Edey from Purdue, Dalton Knecht from Tennessee, Jamal Shedd from Houston, and Tristan Newton from UConn. RJ was the third leading points getter. I thought he should have been second ahead of Dalton Knecht, but whatever. RJ shows up on 55 of the 62 ballots as a first team selection. That's what I don't know how 7 people didn't put RJ Davis as a first team All-American. That makes 0 sense to me. Anyway, glad to see him there. Great stuff. And Armando was honorable mention for the AP All-Americans. All right, here's where we're going today. Because the tip for Carolina's first NCAA tournament game is early afternoon on Thursday, I want to go ahead and preview the game today, even though it's Wednesday. And then tomorrow, oh, people, it's the show you've been waiting for. Myself, Coach Pat Kilby, and Coach Rob, all 3 of us together on the Thursday episode. Buckle up for that. So we'll do that, talk about the game today against Wagner. And also, I've got a very intriguing transfer portal target to look at later on in the show as well. So again, we now know the opponent for this first game. It is going to be Wagner out of the Northeastern Conference. It was weird. It's always weird when you're playing one of the play-in games, which I call slashy games now. I like that better. But here's the good news. Wagner was the selection committee ranks all 68 teams. Carolina was 4th. Wagner is literally dead last, 68th in their ranking, even after their win. They're only 289 at KenPom out of 362 teams in Division I. They're 290 in the net. They've literally only played 2 quad 1 games. They lost them both. 0 quad 2 games. They played 21 total quad 4 games and were 11-10 in those. Wagner, very small school, about 2,000-ish. So their population could basically fill the Smith Center like 10 times over. What's interesting is also out of the Northeastern Conference was Fairleigh Dickinson, whom last year, what did they do? They beat Purdue, also from a play-in game. So watch out, Tar Heels. The NEC Conference is coming for. No, I don't expect that to happen, but it did happen last year. Now, if you do not know Wagner's story, let me share a little bit of it with you. I joked that they've only got 7 players. Well, it's true. They basically, since the beginning of February, because of an onslaught of injuries, have been playing with just 7 scholarship players. In fact, they had their quarterback walk onto the team and played for them some down the stretch. So typically, if you look at their box score, it means typically they have multiple players playing 40 minutes on any given night. They had 3 different players play 40 minutes on Tuesday night and then have to recover, and less than 48 hours later play the Tar Heels. So there's that. Wagner ends the regular season 13-15 overall, 7-9 in the Northeastern Conference. They're the 6th seed in that tournament. But how about this? In the 3 games that they had to play in the NEC tournament, which, by the way, is not at a neutral site, it's all at the higher or the better seeds home gym. So they go on the road, beat the 3rd seed Sacred Heart, then on the road to beat the number 1 seed Central Connecticut, and on the road again to beat the number 2 seed Merrimack to win the auto bid. Unreal stuff there from Wagner. Congrats to it. Like, it's a great story. So proud, like, to be down to 7 dudes and then you go off and do that. That's something, man. And that's something they should very much be proud of. That's why I love NCAA basketball, especially as we get into the postseason. So on Tuesday night, Wagner beats Howard 71-68 to advance to play Carolina. It's their 2nd ever appearance in the tournament, but just their 1st ever win. So again, love that kind of stuff. Congrats to Wagner. In that game, they were up big, 17 early in the second half. Howard came roaring back with a 14-2 run to close it to 1. But then Wagner hit some free throws and then was able to avoid. Howard had 3 shots at 3 to send it to overtime, missed them all in the closing seconds of the game. As you look back at their season, Wagner only played 2 power conference opponents, Providence and Seton Hall, both out of the Big East. Providence and Seton Hall both roasted Wagner. And so, that's kind of where things are at. So Wagner, what do they do well? Well, just to be very honest with you, nothing offensively. They are 334th in the nation in offensive efficiency, 358th in 2-point field goal percentage, 291st in 3-point field goal percentage. They only average 63.5 points per game. That's 355th nationally. That's in the bottom 10 in points scored per game in the nation. I guess the one thing they kind of do well offensively is offensive rebounds. They get 11.5 a game. That's 80th nationally. They have an offensive rebounding rate of 29.9%, although that falls outside the top 100. So there's just not much they do good offensively. So there's that. Defense is where they do have some better things. Defensively, they are 6th in the nation in points allowed, allowing just 62.1 points per game. Their 3-point field goal percentage defense is 29.5%. They hold opponents to 29.5% from 3. That's 8th nationally. So they are doing a few good things. However, let me remind us, the opponents, they're not exactly playing teams that are going to light it up on them. They are also a very slow basketball team. They entered that slashy game against Howard on Tuesday night, 361st, again, out of 362 teams in the nation in adjusted tempo. So in some ways, hear me say this again, nothing offensively, really good defense, very slow. Who does that remind you of? The team that played right after them and was abysmal on Tuesday night. Virginia embarrassed our conference. But anyway, to me, Wagner is kind of Virginia light in some ways. They're there on defense, but nothing offense, and they play really slow. However, they did go out and score 71 points on Tuesday night. Go figure, because that's an outlier. This season, they've scored 72 or fewer points in all but 3 games. Of those 3 games where they scored more than 72, 2 of them, the 2 highest points they scored, were against opponents who aren't even in Division I. The only time they scored more than 72 points against a Division I opponent was 80. That's it. Again, literally every other game was 72 points or lower. But the flip side of that is that their defense, the same is true there. For their opponents, only 6 of their opponents have scored 70 or more points this season. However, I said Providence and Seton Hall are the only power conference teams they've played. Providence and Seton Hall scored 2 of the 4 highest point totals against Wagner. So while Wagner's got it defensively, I do feel like Carolina should be able to score against them. Let me just give you a name to know. Melvin Council Jr. leads the team in scoring 14.6 points a game. He also leads them in rebounding, 5.7 rebounds per game, and block shots at 0.6 blocks a game. That leads the team. He's a 6'4" guard, so all the more intriguing that he leads them in rebounding and blocks. They kind of rebound by committee because they ain't got much size. We'll get more to that in just a second. So there you go. That's kind of your need to know, your primer for Wagner. And here's the thing. When you only got 7 guys and the tallest of those is 6'9", you know what that means for the Tar Heels? It's Mondo time, baby. So I'll give you that and the rest of the Four Corners preview coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you this episode's brought to you by our brand new sponsor, Better Together. Hey, are you tired of the same old daily fantasy grind where you make a roster, you cross your fingers, and you just hope for the best? Well, I'd like to introduce you to Better Together, the first cooperative daily fantasy platform where teamwork triumphs over talent and you can play with your friends, not against them. You pick more or less on real-time player stats, strategize with your partner to boost your odds and climb the leaderboard together. So grab a friend and join the social DFS movement. It makes you realize that daily fantasy is fun alone, but like a lot of other things, it's infinitely better when you do it together with friends. I got a whole bunch of friends I love sports with, and Better Together is a great way to stay connected with them, even when we don't get to watch sports together in person. Better Together also gives inexperienced players an immersive way to learn about DFS, teaming up with more experienced players so there's not the fear of like messing it all up or getting taken advantage of. Well, Tar Heel fans, you need to show that you're the best players by participating in the Fan Challenge series for a chance to win real money. You can see the app for contest details. So download Better Together now from the App Store and sign up using promo code LOCKEDON for a chance to win your share of over $1,000 in cash prizes. Remember that code again, Locked On, because winning alone is fun, but it's better together. This episode is also brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks, exhaust kits to LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. So with all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, we're getting ready for Wagner for Thursday as Carolina kicks off the NCAA tournament. Again, we're doing it a day early to make sure you have plenty of time to listen to this before tip on Thursday. And let me just start by saying, before we do the Four Corners preview, this is about playing North Carolina basketball. This is you don't get many opportunities like this in the NCAA tournament, and that's what's afforded to you by being the 1 seed, or one of the 4 1 seeds, I guess I should say. This is still an opportunity to make this team react to you. I'm not overly concerned with what Wagner's going to do. Again, I know they have a good defense comparatively with the competition they play, but they really are, unfortunately, just an inferior opponent. All due respect to them. And again, congrats on the run. But Carolina is just frankly and simply more talented, and they need to act like it. On paper, by rating, this is by far the worst team Carolina has played all season long. Charleston Southern before this would have held that distinction, but now it is, in fact, Wagner. Charleston Southern is ranked 3-6. Actually, you know what? Wagner is slightly better than Charleston Southern. Charleston Southern wound up at 316 and Wagner's 289. That's at KenPom. So anyway, but still, you get the point, right in that same vicinity of worst team Carolina has played all season. But you hate to say it here, no mercy. This Carolina team has a killer edge to them. It's what will fuel them, and it must be present even against Wagner. So that's what we're looking for and what we're talking about. You just got to take care of business. So here's the four corners preview. Number one, it's Armando Bacot time, baby. And Carolina has to form their game plan around that. I want to see Carolina early and often get the ball into their big man and let him go to work. Why? Let me give you the heights of Wagner's starting lineup. 6'1", 6'1", 6'4", 6'4", 6'9". That means that Armando is going to have size, Harrison Ingram's going to have size, Cormac Ryan's going to have size, and Elliot Cadeau probably should have a little bit of size too. Get the ball to Armando and let him go to work. Remember, I said they've got 7 players. Those 2 backups are both 6'7". So even then, they're going to get smaller. So Armando over and over and over again. You know what else? Let Harrison get that back down game going. Let him get that post going on. Go to your big man early and often. I legit want to see a 20-15 game, 20 points, 15 rebounds out of Armando Bacot, unless Carolina just has such a lead that he's sitting on the bench. Number 2 in our four corners preview, run, and then run some more. Wagner is going to try and slow it down. Virginia can do that because they have better athletes. Wagner just should not be able to, despite, you see them typically slowing things down this season. They just haven't played opponents the caliber of North Carolina. Literally, Providence and Seton Hall, again, the best 2 teams they've played, neither of whom made the cut of the NCAA tournament. They both fell off the bubble. This is just a different thing. So a lot of times we use this language as we prepare to play like a Virginia. It's much easier to slow a team down than it is to speed them up. And that's true when the athleticism is matched. But in this case, it's not. And so North Carolina should still be able to run. Wagner should not be able to slow them down. Another reason to run is because Wagner only has 7 players, a lot of whom typically play the entire game. So wear them out. That's what we needed to see Carolina do against NC State, and they just weren't able to make the transition game matter as much as it should have. Still blew out NC State in terms of fast break points, but running them to death just wasn't as big a factor in the game. It has to be in this one. Do the work. Number 3 in our four corners preview, attack. This is what Carolina has done so well so many times this year. And it's not just Armando Bacot. It's got to be everyone. I want to see RJ Davis get to the rim. I want to see Elliot Cadeau get to the rim and either finish, where, by the way, he is a great finisher, or dish to somebody else. I want to see Harrison Ingram get to the rim. I want to see Cormac Ryan not settle for threes, pump fake, and go. We've seen a lot of that lately. I believe it's Derek Thiessen. Let me go back to what he said in one of our live postcasts, which we'll do, by the way, Thursday after the game. But Derek said, I want to see this version of Cormac Ryan attacking, and he's continued to do so. Why? Why do I want to see this attack? Again, Wagner only has 7 players. So that means a couple things. Number 1, if you attack, you get them in foul trouble, whether that's Armando in the post or whether it's guards driving and getting fouled. And so you either get them in foul trouble when you attack, or they know they can't get in foul trouble because their lack of depth, and they olay and just let you go by. Either way, it's a good thing for Carolina. Number 2, the reason to attack is because you know that Carolina makes a living at the free throw line. They love to get there, and they're one of the best in the nation at not only getting there, but then also converting at basically a 75% clip this season. You know Carolina's game plan. Make more free throws than your opponent attempts. Well, that's very true with Wagner. Average this season, Carolina averages more free throws made than Wagner attempts. Wagner attempts 15.2 free throws per game. Carolina makes 17.4 free throws per game. So you hear that, you see it. Carolina should be able to get to the free throw line and take advantage of that. Number 4 in our four corners preview, I'm going to quote Remember the Titans. Run it up, Herman, and leave no doubt. That comes from that game where the refs have been bribed to just throw flags on the Titans the whole time. And the defensive coordinator goes out and I can't think of his name, the assistant coach, and tells the officials he knows what's going on. And that's when Coach Yost, there we go, comes back and tells Herman Boone, Denzel Washington, run it up, Herman, and leave no doubt. And the reason I say that is Four Corners Preview number 4 is because Carolina has something to prove after what happened Saturday against NC State. And unfortunately for Wagner, that means that they should be the unfortunate recipients of that angry performance that I expect the Tar Heels to deliver in this game. But I want to see them do it. And I know you hate to do that against a lesser opponent, but you have to, because at this point in the season, it's literally one loss and you're done. And you know what happened to Purdue last year. You know what happened to Virginia in 2018. With the parity in college basketball, there are no more gimmies anywhere ever. You got to be locked in. You got to do it. I want to see Carolina get an early lead, build on it, expand it, and never leave a doubt in anyone's mind. The second half of this game should be a 20-point or more cushion the entire time. That's what Carolina needs to do. Lock in, execute, make plays until the final whistle blows. Well, that's the Wagner preview. Again, we'll talk more of that Thursday as we get ready, along with Coach Pat Kilby and Coach Bill Robinson. And so that's going to be fun for the three of us to be together. Now, an intriguing Armando Bacot replacement potential entered the transfer portal Tuesday from a very familiar pipeline. Who is it and where's it from? I'll tell you about that in just a second. Right after I tell you, this episode's brought to you by Nissan, which brings us this week's March Madness bracket highlight. Each week, we're picking one team that has stood out, a team that's pushed it further than the rest, just like any of the all-new 2024 Nissan SUVs. These guys were able to take it to the next level. The Auburn Tigers can only be described as a pathfinder. They've been thrilling to watch and have really created a lane for themselves after claiming the top spot in the SEC tournament by winning that championship. They knocked off the Florida Gators on Sunday in that championship, and now they're set to make a run in the NCAA tournament as what I think is an underseeded 4, by the way. So if you want to be like Auburn, why don't you take the Nissan Pathfinder or the Rogue or the Armada and go find your next big adventure? Shop nissanusa.com. Cormac Ryan started his college basketball career at Stanford. Harrison Ingram came to North Carolina from Stanford after 2 years there. I would like to keep that pipeline open from Palo Alto all the way to Chapel Hill. Why? I mentioned on Tuesday that the main piece I'm looking for North Carolina to add in the transfer portal this year is an Armando Bacot replacement. The coaching staff I know is probably having lots of conversations right now, obviously about the NCAA tournament and preparation, but they got to be of split mind to think about next year's roster. Remember, they declined an NIT invite last year specifically to focus on transfer portal. They can't do that with the NCAA tournament, but they do have to have the transfer portal conversations. One of those pieces is Jalen Washington our 5, or do we need to go find somebody? For me, I think Carolina needs to have another person. Even if they think Jalen Washington's the guy, then they need to have somebody behind him. But I think that you need a starter level. So the Armando Bacot replacement is what I need to see. Now, while a different playing style and a different body type, I think there's one from Stanford that jumped into the transfer portal on Tuesday, and he goes by the name of Maxime Raynaud. He's a Stanford guy. I love a good in-conference transfer. Remember, Stanford's coming to the ACC next year. In fact, as people were reporting him jumping into the transfer portal on Tuesday, Jeff Borzello, who's one of ESPN college basketball writers, referred to Raynaud as, quote, the best player in the portal right now, end quote. Here's what I like about Raynaud. He is a 7'1" guy, a true 7-footer. So he's probably going to end up at Purdue. I guess that's what that means. But 7'1", 250. He's from Paris, France, as his name would suggest. He just finished his junior year at Stanford, so would have played with Harrison, came in with Harrison, I guess technically. Has no COVID eligibility. He was 1 year after that, so just has 1 year left of school. This year for the Cardinal and Coach Jared Haas, averaged 15 15.5 points a game, 9.6 rebounds, shot 56.7% from the field. Divided up, it was 61% from 2, 36.1% from 3 on just shy of 2 3-point attempts per game. That's a good thing. That's a Hubert Davis style that you're looking for right there. Can step out and do it. Not to mention, also averages 2 assists and shoots 78.4% from the free throw line. That's right about where Mondo is this year. Man, I love those numbers. I love what he does. Let me give you some more observations and things I've seen from him and heard from others and witnessed. Started 31 games this year, so that's great stuff. Out of 32 games he played, he's not much of a shot blocker. That's the one thing that would be lacking despite being 7'1". He's not a beefy guy. He's a little bit slender. But as you look at his numbers year after year after year, he's gotten better. Literally every year of college, those numbers have grown. And this year, boy, did he have a year. Season highs, he had 29 points twice, one of which was at Arizona. Had multiple high rebounding games. 17 was his high this season. You think about, how did he do against top flight competition? Well, Arizona is the class of the Pac-12. When Stanford went to Arizona this year, listen to this line. 29 points, that was one of those 2. 11 of 19 from the field, 5 of 6 from 3, 3 assists, 2 steals, and a block in that game, and just 1 turnover. That is a game against the best team in the entire Pac-12. That's a 2 seed right now. That's really encouraging. And it's been really, like, he's even stepped it up more down the stretch of the season. The final 12 games, he scored 20 or more points 7 times. This season, he had 13 or more rebounds 8 times. That's so impressive. Let me give you a little 4-game stretch he went on in the past month. That game at Arizona kicked it off. 29 points, 6 boards, 5 of 6 from 3. The game after that, they went, I don't know if you're aware, the Pac-12 teams do travel partners, and they go over the course of a weekend, to LA, play USC and UCLA or something like that. So after Arizona, Stanford hosted the LA schools. Against UCLA, 20 points, 10 rebounds. Against USC, 25 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. And then their next game was up at Washington, 19 points, 16 rebounds. That, friends, is a 4-game stretch. And in that stretch, here's his shooting numbers. 36 of 51 from the field. That's 70.5%. 9 of 11 from 3, that's 81.8%. 12 of 16 from the free throw line, that's 75%. Here's some specifics of his game, what I like that I've seen. Because of his ability to step out and shoot it, opponents have to honor that. So he's developed a really nice pump fake, and then he can get to the rim himself with the dribble and finish with either hand. Mind you, I love that. I love the ability to do that. That's not something Carolina. So while he's not as beefy as Armando, he can do that. He's got a nice baseline spin and hook with either hand. Legitimately, he's got really nice feathery touch with both hands. He seems comfortable in both hands. He can move both ways. I'm encouraged by that. Also, I mentioned those 2 assists per game. This year, he had a 15% assist rate. He's not a lot of big guys are black holes. The ball goes in, it don't ever come back out. Not so with Raynaud. And also, because of what he does out on the perimeter, I've also seen him complete multiple good looks from the outside over the top or entry passes or things or finding a cut or things like that. Nice assist rate. He's got a 9.4 offensive rebounding assist rate. Obviously, that's not on par with Armando, but it's good. One thing I will say about his 3-point shot as you watch it, you think about Randy Johnson. Remember the pitcher for the Diamondbacks? Dominant pitcher. Because of his huge size, sometimes the mechanics have to be worked. With Raynaud, he's got a pretty decent form on his shot from outside. It is slow in his windup. It's not a quick trigger by any means, and he brings the ball from low. I'd like to see him start higher, but with that frame, he starts low and brings it up. But when he's got space to get a shot off, he can, and it works. And sometimes even when he doesn't have space because of his height, he's still able to get it off. So I'd like him to pick up with that. But if he was able to come to Carolina, Obviously, there's shooters galore on the coaching staff who could help. There's also Sean May who can help with all that inside game stuff. So I would love to see how Carolina could develop him. And can you imagine the pick and roll game that he and Elliot Cadeau could have together? Oh my word. Come on with that. So Maxime Raynaud from Stanford, a transfer portal target that I would love to see Carolina go after. Okay, folks, that's it for today's episode. Great to be together. Don't forget, join the Locked On Tar Heels Discord. It's free to join. The link's in the show notes. Don't forget to join the March Madness Bracket Challenge. The link for that is also in the show notes. If you haven't subscribed to Locked On Tar Heels, please do so on video and on audio platforms. Things are just really trending in a good direction, and it's thanks to all of you who love being a part of this community. Thank you. Want to tell you and remind you that it's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be right back together tomorrow, but until then, peace.